Welcome, everyone. I'm Angelo Robles. I'm the founder and chairman of Family Office Association. Today, we're joined by Russ Prince, a special advisor and consultant to families of great wealth and the single-family office community. I wanted to have Russ today as a special guest to explain a project that we're working on together, which is a series of workshops, potentially around the country, dedicated to those that service or would like to service families of great wealth and the single family office community. We think this is one of a kind and very unique. Both of us have deep experiences within the super rich and the single family office community. So it's great to join forces with Russ and put on a series of workshops, whether someone is an attorney, an accountant, a wealth manager in the hedge fund industry, tech consulting, cybersecurity. If you potentially want to work with $100 million plus families and their single family offices, we hope that we're providing great value. We are currently calling this series of workshops Sourcing the Super Rich and Single Family Offices. As noted, today our special guest is my friend Russ Prince. Russ, thank you for joining us today.
Pleasure to be here, Angelo.
So we, in many of our gatherings over lunch and getting together, both of us kind of came to the conclusion, to some degree, for the betterment of families and single family offices, all of them, even those that are worth tens of billions, are going to need to outsource and going to need a variety of different advisors, legal, accounting, financial, whatever it may be, that if they could be more effective and efficient and being able to potentially source the kind of families, this could be something that could be mutually beneficial. Maybe tell the audience a little bit about the genesis of the idea.
Angelo, when you and I are doing research in the field together, and we're studying what these family offices are doing, and we're starting to understand that one of the biggest trends in this family office universe now is outsourcing. They are selectively picking specialists to work with. It's not all internal anymore. In fact, it's fair to say that every single family office is virtual, because every one of them at some degree, to some extent, is outsourcing certain capabilities. Because in order to meet the needs of the family, they can't put it all inside. It's not cost effective. It's not reasonable. They're going to have to go outside on a regular basis. So they are going out and looking for the talent and the expertise, the specialists they need to make the results for the families. Now, one of the reasons for this is that the families are making the mandates of these single family offices much broader. So they have more things they need to do for the family, more things they need to be attentive to. We need to therefore specialize and get the specialists we need and bring them in. That's what's happening in the industry across the board. Another thing that's happening that's generating some of this is that it used to be you need hundreds of millions of dollars to have a single family office. Because of the ingenuity of a lot of the specialists, a lot of the professionals, because of technology, because of some regulatory changes here and there, families who are not that extraordinarily wealthy, still wealthy by any stretch of the imagination, but not extraordinarily wealthy, are also creating single family offices. What's happening is that they are looking for talent, they are looking for expertise, they're looking for people that they can work with. The key here is that there's a lot of people out there who are really good. And I would refer to those people who are really good as hidden talents. They are really capable, extremely proficient at what they do. The only complication is that this universe, these family offices, the people making these calls at who to work with, don't know about them, understand who they are, and how they can, in a sense, work together. So what we're looking to do, you and I, based on those lunches that you mentioned, what we're looking to do is help people who want to work with these types of clients, talented individuals who want to work with single family offices. We're going to show them a series of roadmaps that can help them connect together, put this together for them to enable them to be in the selection set, be at the top of the selection set when these single family offices need their expertise.
There are many advisors that are going to be technically proficient. There's probably tens of thousands that are. Now, there may be a couple that are extraordinary, exceptional. But for the most part, there's going to be a finite number of wealthy families and SFOs. So if they think it's going to happen organically, meaning the advisor, the wealth manager, whatever, they may get lucky here and there, but they need a game plan to potentially be one of those rare few that, of course, is talented, ethical, trustworthy, but still has to get in front of a very exclusive audience. What does some of the research show in terms of are the wealthy, the super rich booming, are more single family offices being formed? And then we'll transition into how an advisor could be better positioned as a thought leader, a content provider, a deeper thinker.
Well, you're hitting it on 2 points. There's all these families creating single family offices. So we have a growing universe of wealthy families looking for those specialists to work with. So they want to make sure that they're going to do the best thing for their family. They need these experts. That's the key. Now, the complication is there are a lot of experts out there, and a lot of them are really very good. Some are better, but even among the best of the best, let's take the top 10% of the industry, of any industry, law, wealth management, money management. If you just take the top 10%, there's an awful lot of people in that 10%. Therefore, what's important is that you have to, if you're in that 10% and you want to work with this really sensational type of client, because the client will really pay well for value. If you can deliver high value to that client, they will pay top dollar for that value, if you can do that. But you also, to do that, you have to get in front of them. You have to be positioned well to get in front of them. You have to have I would say, professional brand. You mentioned thought leadership. That's sort of key to this. You have to be somebody who is seen by other professionals and by this universe as being an expert, a real expert in what they're providing. By doing that, and there's a real set of systematic processes that will enable you to do that, we're taking for granted that that top 10% is that good. So it's not a matter of that you're that good anymore. It's a matter of that you're able to communicate what you're able to do and the value you can bring to this universe.
Right.
By communicating it to them in a really effective and powerful way. You become top of mind when those issues appear. When those things become important to that family, they know you're one of the people that they have to call.
Now we're getting into some of the secret sauce, which of course for the audience is going to have to attend one of the workshops to truly find out. But to whet the appetite a little bit, how do they further engage and improve their brand? And how do they position themselves as someone that the super rich and the family offices might even personally seek out? How do they become that thought leader?
Well, thought leadership is one methodology, let's be real clear, that helps somebody position themselves and create that presence that these families are looking for, right? But it's not only the families. The other professionals are often key to bringing people to the families. So if you're a lawyer and that family needs a particular accounting expertise and you have that expertise, that lawyer has to know who you are as well. So it's a combination. It's like a dual impact brand. It's a brand for the families that we recognize the expertise, and the brand is also recognized by other professionals. You need to make that both work. Thought leadership, well, there are 2 ways to become a thought leader. You have to create a campaign. And a campaign is providing insights and expertise and really great information to these universes. That's essential. 2 ways to do it. You create it yourself, which is what you and I are doing in many respects in creating material because of the research we're doing and the following and the processes. And you can curate it. You can bring other ideas together for them that match up to both what you're doing and what they need. So there's a lot of techniques and processes and methodologies we can apply to be top of mind when that opportunity presents itself. We're never going to know what is happening in that family and when our services are really required. We have to be in their selection set when those situations arise.
Right. And that's going to be part of the battle, as you noted. And sure, they want to have families come to them, and that's all well and good, and hopefully over time that could happen. But they also perhaps want to be a little bit more proactive. What are some methodologies to source and to engage and be in the same room with these kind of people?
Okay. We want to now, as you said, we want to be proactive. Let's think of it as one big campaign, because we want to approach it from multiple directions. Because by approaching it from multiple directions, and you need to do it from multiple directions, you're then going to get the attention and the recognition we're looking for. You just can't go with one attitude, one perspective and assume that's going to work. It's a blanket approach. Let's take the Family Office Association. You're putting together a lot of single family offices in the room. A professional sits there and talks to them. A professional starts to meet with them. Now this takes time because they have to build a trust in you as a professional. They have to start to know you. It's not like, oh, I went to one meeting and I didn't, what happened? It never works that way. More and more the family offices, because they're looking to improve, they're looking to become, in their sense, more professional, more effective, do a better job for their families. Because they're doing that, they're going to more meetings like the ones you're holding. They're also going to other types of meetings, like certain types of mastermind groups, for example, they go to for different purposes than the ones they go to you. But they're going to certain places. We know where they congregate in some respects. We have to be there. And you have to be part of this. And you have to put the time in and the commitment in, because if you don't do that, you're not going to get the relationship. Remember, this is partially relationship driven. It's not that I'm just an expert, because there are a lot of experts, we're saying. A lot of experts just as good as each other. I mean, there's a lot who aren't, but there are a lot who are good. You also have to build a relationship. And that takes time, and they have to see you. That's why when we talk about thought leadership, it can't be great. I got quoted in the Wall Street Journal and I wrote a white paper. That's not going to do it. That's going to disappear very quickly. We have to provide material that's really meaningful to them on a consistent basis. And that's part of what we're going to talk about in the workshop. How do we do that? How does that fit together? What kind of campaign do you want to create? That's one aspect. The meeting people is another. The third aspect is a lot of these single family offices get to certain types of specialists because they're referred by the people they're currently working with. Now, all these things go together. It's not you're doing one or the other. You want to put it all together if you really want to work in this universe. You have to be in front of them in the events, for example. You have to have the positioning, the branding, the expertise, the recognized expertise that we're calling thought leadership.
Right.
You have to be working with the other professionals and understand how the mechanics, the dynamics of that, and how that can be used and work in your favor to get you in front of these types of wealthy families and the people running their offices. All of it comes together, and that's what we're going to address in the workshop, how all the pieces work, how they come together, and how you can, this is really an operational process. The concepts are pretty simple. Become a thought leader. That's not exactly a revelation here. Nobody sits there and says, wow, that never thought of that one. We all understand that. That's not the magic. The magic is, how do we do that? What is the steps that takes that somebody needs to do to get that kind of result? Now, when I look back on what I'm doing, because I'm a consultant and I consult to family offices in a couple of different areas, I'll say arguably in my 10%, but there are other really good consultants, and I know that. There are a lot of institutions who do tremendously effective jobs. There's no question. What I've also been able to do is that for my practice, I've gotten to reach them. I'm using those techniques we're talking about, and I get clients from around the world because they see me in a certain way. I'm being introduced in a certain way, and I have a structure that they're willing to work with, so I do real well with this space. We're going to talk about how that works and how that works for other people, because I'm certainly not alone in doing this.
You mentioned one powerful technique that we'll talk more about in the workshop, and that is being introduced. Now, already you have to have the respect of that person and a brand, but being introduced by someone who may be the most trusted person of that very, very wealthy family. It may be their estate planning attorney, it may be their, for 30 years, their family accountant in a family business or enterprise. So how do you get to know the fellow professional, and how do you have him or her think of you as being, this is the person that I feel confident bringing into the family? And when that introduction comes from me, it's almost going to be a slam dunk. Now, again, we don't want to give away all the secret sauce, but we may want to give them a little bit of a primer what that may look like.
You know, you refer to a secret sauce. Now, the key here is that we'll lay it out in the workshop, and I'll give a couple of ideas here, but we'll lay it out in the workshop in detail how you do that. There's a real set methodology, there are steps, there's a process.
Correct.
Right, it's locked down. It's how effectively you do that that gets you the results. So it isn't that there's magic in the process. Once you understand the process and you're smart, you can implement it. But you have to commit. It's back to the commitment. It's like going to the meetings. You have to go to a lot of meetings. So let's go back to that point. I get referrals from professionals around the world for my consulting services on behalf of for these families. Right? You mentioned slam dunk. Right? Yeah, it's a slam dunk. If you set it up right, you are the only person they're making the referral to. So it's not like here's a list of 5 people. I become the only one. So either they do it with me for whatever reason or not, but it's either me or they're not going to do it at this time. So yeah, that's our goal. That's what we want to accomplish, to get that kind of opportunity, because I don't know it's out there. Those other professionals are hearing it. They're seeing it. Something comes up in the world. They know it's happening. I want them to think of me. So when we're talking about things like thought leadership, it's not only a matter of sending content and viable information to the family office universe. We also need to send material to the professionals.
Right.
So they understand how I fit in. And it goes more than that. I have to understand how all the pieces fit, how all the people, what roles everybody has, the different business models involved, because I have to figure out how to connect all the dots, how to make this all work. That's my job if I want those referrals. So my job is to work with select professionals, identify them, and there's a methodology to do that. How to work with them, there's a process to do that as well. Mm-hmm. And my, I'll say, reward for doing all of this is that when the right clients from me come along in their world, they immediately think of me, they know how to introduce me, they know what to say and how to bring them over. And not only that, when you really do it well, they become your advocates. So I'm in situations where they tell me somebody's going to call up. A few weeks go by, nobody calls. They will call that client and say, why didn't you call up Russ? You should be calling him up. What's stopping us? They become the advocate. That's what we want, to create advocates of those people, not just to say, I'm going to refer you when something comes along. But to bring it back, thought leadership is one methodology that crosses all these areas. So if you're going and speaking at an event at the Family Office Association, that's a great opportunity to position yourself as a thought leader, right? So what we're doing is that these concepts, these principles, these processes, when you put it all together, and you have to put it all together, you just can't do it erratically and expect to get consistently good results. When you put it all together, that's when you can get consistently good results. And that's what we want to show people how it works. We're going to lay out all the processes, we're going to lay out all the pieces, we're going to explain the different opportunities, and we're going to answer every question they got.
Excellent. Kind of a two-part question. I do sometimes get feedback from people younger, say under 35, that are an advisor in the community and very talented. It's going to be harder for me because, quote unquote, I'm younger. The second part of that question, and you know we're very active in this, is younger family members, millennials, and eventually the Gen Zers. Mm-hmm. They're likely too young now, but how they think, how they communicate. Just look at Gen Zers and how they're influenced by influencers, more so than the message of a big corporation or bank or entity, but by people they perceive as a peer and someone they trust, and how powerful those influencers are. Likely, they will take that with them as they get older and they get more in a position of authority. So how does a younger advisor potentially reach out to peers like them, and how would an older advisor potentially have a mentor-trainee relationship and try to cover, I'll cover the older generation, you'll cover the younger, but we're going to work together on it?
When you're looking at these families, as you're pointing out, there's multiple generations, there's multiple issues, people are getting control at different points, people are given, I've seen families, worked with families where we're going to give the kids, okay, now I'm 60, so the kids, 35, we're going to give the kids a bunch of money to see what they can do with it as a starting point and see where they're going to come into it. Well, those kids, as we're talking about, they are looking for, I'll call it, people, their peers, age-wise, for example, and so forth. So if you're looking at this universe, what you really want to be able to do is cross all the different, make this work across every different aspect of it. You want to make sure that you can cover the people who are younger and the people who are older. You can create the rapport that we need across the family to get the results we're looking for, to get the relationships, because let's also think about it this way. When the patriarch or matriarch who's running in charge of that family office goes away and gives it to the kids, there's a good chance they're going to shift all the providers they're using. Now, if you're not in there in a good way with those kids, referring to them, you're not going to be thrown out and somebody else is going to come in.
Exactly.
Right. So you have to build those bonds. And I sat there with somebody who told me they're my age, and they're sitting there saying, I'm trying to relate to the 20-year-olds. I said, that's not going to work, because you're not going to relate to the 20-year-olds. No matter what you do or think you're doing, you're not going to relate. We need somebody else in there to relate to the 20-year-olds that can be part of your team.
Exactly.
So what we're getting here is that it's a way we need to work with them ongoing. And that's part of the processes that you need to do, but you have to do that because you have to understand who you're targeting and who you're working with and where we want to be in this universe and how we want to work with them.
Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed a little bit of a preview of what the workshops we're doing dedicated to the advisor community, really around the world, that wants to be more active with the super rich and the single family office. There is a methodology that Russ and I have worked on that we're pretty proud of, and know it's something that has proven to be successful, that I think you would enjoy by being active in these workshops. The first one is in late May of 2019, so given that the video could be potentially used for other purposes, I wanted to note the date, but we'll be doing others in the greater New York area, perhaps on the West Coast, Florida, other locations as well. If you'd like to learn more, you can reach out to us at Family Office Association. I am Angelo at FamilyOfficeAssociation.com as an email, and certainly our website, our social media. We look forward to hearing from you and hopefully seeing you very soon at one of our workshops.